Recent clashes between Israelis and Palestinian Hamas forces beg the question of what should America do? A look at the issues and what they mean to us right now on Be the People.
I believe in America. I'm not giving up on the land I love. I believe in one nation strong, where my heart belongs, where I call my home.
Greetings from Nashville, Tennessee. I'm Carol Swain, and this is Be the People. Each week, we're dedicated to examining the social, cultural, and political issues that affect us all. On this program, we examine the recent violence in the Gaza Strip and what it means to America. This small strip of land has been a source of strife between the Israelis and Palestinians for many decades. Whatever peace has existed in this region has been temporary and tentative, and there is no indication there will be lasting peace anytime soon. With all the recent uproar in the Middle East, concerns are heightened that Israel's existence may be threatened by this turmoil in this part of the world, which will certainly impact us. To shed light on this issue, we asked our guests, what are the roots of the conflict between Israel and the Palestinians? Joining me to discuss this important issue are Pastor Lyndon Allen of Bethel World Outreach, who teaches extensively on the Hebraic roots of the church. Also with us is Dr. Bill Warner, an author, speaker, and teacher whose goal is to educate about the doctrine and history of political Islam. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Could you educate our audience about the conflict in the Middle East, and especially about the arguments that are advanced by people who say that Israel has no right to the land, that Israel is the bully in this conflict?
Well, since Israel is a nation mentioned prolifically throughout the Bible, and as a pastor, and by the way, I pastor at Woodmont Bible Church, it begs us to investigate, how did this conflict even start? Well, biblically speaking, this issue between Arabs and Israelis, or in the Old Testament, just Arabs and Jews, goes all the way back to the birth of two children, Ishmael and Isaac. And Ishmael was born first by Abraham's maidservant named Hagar, who was an Egyptian.
Right.
And then the child of promise came, and that was Isaac, and Hagar was cast out. And God promised that Hagar's descendants, or Ishmael's descendants, would be a prosperous people, and a people that might find themselves in conflict. And then Isaac's descendants grew.
What would you say to people, Bill, that don't give the Bible any credibility, and so they would be saying that that's not relevant?
You mean the origin of the Arab people, or the need for the Jews to be in Israel? Here, I misunderstood your question
Well, just
slightly.
the arguments that Israel is the intruder, the bully, that the Jews have no right to the land.
Well, I think of them as the Jews, not just the Israelis. Mm-hmm. And I agree with Pastor Lyndon that, historically, there's definitely a reason for the Jews to be there. Jerusalem was their city. They were thrown out. They didn't vacate what we now call Israel. They were driven out. So they have the right, I think, to return.
Do you see any way that there can be a peaceful resolution? And I know, Pastor Lyndon Allen, that you would look at biblical prophecy probably as you think about the conflict.
Well, let's take the Bible off the table, and which is very difficult for me to do, but nonetheless, just for the sake of this discussion, let's take the Bible off the table. Here you have Israel, the Israelis,
yes,
having to negotiate with a people group that wants to seek their utter annihilation. Now, that's a very tenuous prospect to deal with. Hamas's charter clearly states they want to see Israel annihilated. I have a quote here from Article 7 of Hamas. The time will not come until Muslims will fight the Jews, until the Jews hide behind rocks and trees, which will cry out, "O Muslim, there is a Jew hiding behind me. Come on and kill him." Now, this is from their own core documents.
Well, we do know that there are forces that have said that they want Israel totally wiped off the face of the earth. And we know speculation that some of the terrorism against the U.S. is directly connected with the fact that we have been Israel's friend.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's difficult to deal with a people group that want to see you annihilated. How can you come to the table with that type of people group?
And by the way, we need to understand that the quote you just gave, which is accurate, does not originate with Hamas. It originates with Muhammad. Okay? This is a hadith, a tradition. So this is a direct quote from, you said you want to take the Bible off the table. Well, what they've done is they've just put Islam on the table.
Well, I can tell you that on this show, we don't take the Bible off the table.
I didn't want to, but I just, in the event, as a pastor, he took the Bible off the table. But there are arguments that you can use that don't even include the Bible, though the strongest, in my opinion.
I
would be the
agree.
Word of God.
I agree, and because some of our viewers are secular, I thought I would just say that, for sake of argument, to continue the conversation. But it is a worrisome situation, as you know.
Well, I think, again, this idea of taking the Bible off the table would be ridiculous. I don't care how secular you are. I mean, to say, just like I think it's ridiculous to deny the roots of this conflict is found in Muhammad. Because it was Muhammad's attempt to, his deathbed, he said three things. One, keep giving the money to the non-Muslim ambassadors. The other is neither Jew nor Christian shall live in the Hijaz, classical Arabia. That was his deathbed words.
Okay, Lyndon, Bill, we'll return to this conversation in just a moment. We continue looking at what unrest in the Middle East means for the survival of Israel, and that's coming up on Be the People.